Hello, everyone. This is a Thanksgiving alert. Flying on uncertified Boeing planes. I want you to call up and ask the airlines about that. I've given you enough information about after 9/11. Boeing came out with an article that said that they were going to be laying off 20 to 30,000 employees. Jump ahead several months to April and July of 2002, where they said basically two supplier notifications or bulletins: send in your certs, send your parts, we don't have to come visit you. In July, that was April. July is the same thing, but July is when they mentioned you have to be AS 9100, the International Aerospace certification, ANAB accredited, American National Accrediting Board. ANAB was taken over completely by ANSI, American National Standards Institute, in 2018. On their supplier bulletin, it calls out ANAB again, plus international equivalents. Could be Iran, who harbored some of the terrorists of 9/11, Pakistan, who harbored Osama bin Laden, and China, who we know about cybersecurities and all the rest of that mess. They took the F-35 in 2009. They took the Black Hawk, Seahawk, etc. from the United Technologies in 2012. And then we had our representatives here in Connecticut praise Communist China for, praise Lockheed for working with Communist China. Richard Blumenthal, who was a chairman, by the way, of the DHS committee, Rosa DeLauro, and also Chris Murphy. You can't make this up. And they bought that for big bucks. And in the Connecticut Mirror, it said, with China's okay, Lockheed Martin closes in on the purchase of the Sikorsky aircraft. And then inside it, the context says, Connecticut lawmakers praise Lockheed Martin for getting over its last international hurdle. That's like Rosa DeLauro, Chris Murphy, and Richard Blumenthal praise Lockheed Martin for working with Communist China. And they got their asses hacked. And then they spent $9 billion for that. I wonder who got their palms greased. But anyway, let's go back to this. Go back to Boeing. Got off a tangent, I apologize. So they came out with a supplier bulletin. They also had that supplier portal. Also, they came out with Heads Up 22, ANSI-ANAB did. They spoke about the Online Aerospace Systems Information System, which is run completely at that time by the IAQG, the International Aerospace Quality Group. And that was run by Boeing, 65%. Okay, had control. I'm not going to tell you about the FAA. We continue on. 2014 to 2024, Boeing sat on the Management System Accreditation Committee, giving the illusion as if they were AS 9100. One thing that you have to understand, this is conflict of interest. Boeing, the OEM, the original equipment manufacturer, forcing down the throats in July 2002 ANAB accreditation, coming out on their supplier portal about ANAB. They were doing a monopoly. This is a monopoly, what they're doing. Breaking the Sherman-Clayton Act. You can't make that up. 10 years they sat there, 2014 to 2024, and I was collecting the data. What made matters worse is that Elizabeth Lund, the Vice President of Quality, on June 27, 2024, gave Daryl Guberman the key to kingdom when she said, Boeing is willing and prepared to obtain AS 9100 certification, an internationally recognized aerospace standard for quality that the plane maker requires for its suppliers. She said Boeing is already compliant with the standard and has been audited to the level as if it was certified, Lund said. You can't do that. And you know what I did? In October, I decided to go out to Boeing myself. This is one of the many pictures. I'm going to show you this. It was a little bit nippy that day. I went out to Everett, Renton, Auburn, Northfield. I must have interviewed 300 to 600 people during my almost month stay there. I'm sure on a dartboard in Boeing's executive wing, they probably have my picture just like this. Nice. Ladies and gentlemen, I exposed the largest industrial scam this world has ever seen between Boeing lying and ANAB colluding, sitting on the Management System Accreditation Committee, and then Elizabeth Lund giving that information, and then me going out to Everett, Renton, Auburn, Northfield, canvassing these employees, and I asked them, do you know anything about AS 9100 or internal auditing to AS 9100 or any type of auditing? They said, what's that? A resounding no. And I told you, I must have interviewed probably 300 to 600 people. I stood up, by the way, April 17th. I do this 2024 because Bloomberg and Politico, because people are asking me, Gerald, this is a huge thing. Why isn't this coming to the forefront? Because number one, Boeing's too embarrassed, I got to tell you. It's very true. Boeing's too embarrassed that they screwed their investors by being on the Management System Accreditation Committee for 10 years at minimum. This gave the illusion to suppliers. This gave the illusion to Vanguard, to BlackRock, to State Street, and Fidelity that you had a resounding, robust investment with Boeing. Yet, somebody didn't do their due diligence. Somebody didn't do their due diligence when the Ethiopian Indonesian airline went down, or the Alaska Air. Now, I will say this. I will never mention names, but we did talk to some of the lawyers that were handling the case. We're making enough money. We don't care. I said, go after ANSI. Go after ANSI-ANAB. They are also underwriters for the IAF and ILAC, the International Accreditation Forum, which they founded. Their sister organization, ILAC, the International Laboratory Accreditation Cooperation in Australia. In January 2026, they're going to be merging IAF and ILAC together to form GlobalAC, Global Accreditation Cooperation. You can't make this up. I am going to give you some major airline telephone numbers. Call them up and ask them if their airplane is safe to fly on. They'll say, Gooperman doesn't know what he's talking about. Well, let me tell you something. From July 2002 to when Elizabeth Lund made that statement, you had almost 22 years of uncertified, unverified, and unqualified systems to build an aircraft because they did not have AS9100 for 22 years. That means they built 12,000 approximately commercial airlines under an uncertified, unaccredited system. Major airlines. American Airlines, 682-278-9000. Delta Airlines, 404-715-2600. United Airlines, 800-864-8331. Southwest Airlines, 800-435-9792. JetBlue, 800-538-2583. I leave it here, ladies and gentlemen. 203-556-1493. Before you fly, check it out first. But I would suggest a lot of these airlines do have Airbuses. Go on that. I'm not saying it's safer, but I'm saying that it's an alternative to Boeing. And I'm a shareholder. I thank you.